So, how are you?
It's been interesting, but I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
it's, it's kind of right now, it's really up and down a bit,
Yeah.
but it's handleable if we are trying to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves and being balanced about things.
Hmm.
And that is so much of what the wisdom keepers are bringing through right now. And so we've got so much to go into. Let's just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
In Yasmin Boland's Moonology book, um, the words for right now are release, let go, move on, forgive, detox. And I think the difference in what she's saying with this, I mean, she's been saying this is how it's been going for a very, very, very long time. Um, but the forgive is geared more towards yourself. Can you forgive yourself for things that you have done? Can you forgive other people for the hurts that you have perceived they have put on you, which may not and frequently are not the same in their perception as what you saw. And so those are kind of the what's coming right now. As far as release and let go and detox, they've been going much more into uh, how to do this, how
Mm.
to take healthcare, which most of our systems right now, what we call healthcare, is actually sick care, and
Yes.
move it to a self-care system, which is much more in tune with what you are doing.
Yeah.
And so I would like to talk a little bit about that and what's coming through with that. First, I want to put out the disclaimer. If you have a medical emergency, if you need to have genuine medical treatment, get it. No questions, get it. If you're in an accident in a car and you're bleeding, go to the hospital. Okay.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you have, that's an acute situation. If you
Yeah.
have a chronic situation you're noticing, a leaky gut or gut issues, asthma, allergies, all of these diseases that we are seeing so prevalently right now, there's a really good chance you have something stuck inside of you that is causing this disease. And as within, so without. If you want to heal that, as opposed to getting treatment, there's a difference. Treatment is you go to the hospital, you go to the doctor, and they do something for you. Healing comes from within. Healing always comes from within. And this requires a lot of inner work. Let me give you a quick example of what this looks like.
Mhm.
For me, I've been dealing with diseases, chronic diseases, all of my life. And so some of this quote trauma, and I'll do a little explanation as to what trauma is in just a minute, but some of this trauma may not even come from me. When we are coming into this experience in form, we are in our mother, and whatever our mother has in her is also possibly passed down to us, and almost always it is. And so you may be carrying things that are not even yours. So for me, I had to heal some traumas, quote traumas, and I'll put that in quote because I don't want to use the word too much for clarity's sake. But the trauma that I first started to heal with, and this is going to sound so silly, but it explains how simple and how deep trauma can be. Okay. The first thing I needed to heal that came up in my mind as I asked my body what it needed, as I asked my gut, what do you need? What are you holding? What, please bring it forth so that we can deal with it and let it go. And so it brought me up the picture of when I was in about fifth or sixth grade, and I had my first crush on a boy.
Okay.
And I had reached out to try and mention it, not let him know this. And of course, it was unrequited. And so that was the trauma, was an unrequited affection
Hmm.
or such. And I understand how simple that is. But even simple things can cause us traumas that can cause blockages, basically because of what we've dealt with before. So what that one linked to, and the trauma it linked to, most of you understand that my mother died after being in prison for 15 years a little while back, for the murder of my sister-in-law, my former sister-in-law. Well, as it turns out, the trauma that she had passed on to me when I was born through her was the trauma of her family history of abuse and her feelings and such that had never been dealt with. So, in order to heal this very simple, unrequited request, I also needed to heal my mother's long term dis-ease and distress with everything that she had gone through and how she felt so powerless. And that's the connection, was I felt powerless when I reached out and it was unrequited. She felt powerless to the point where she was able to take another life, which was, there's all sorts of, we can go on all sorts of rabbit holes with that one, but that she was able to do that. And that was the key, was powerlessness.
Hmm.
I could then release powerlessness in me for myself and for her. And it was so freeing. And I still feel so energized because of it.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about when we're talking about this inner work, this deep, deep inner work.
Hmm. Yes.
And so I just wanted to put all of that in a thing together
Right.
so that it kind of could be easily digested in
Right.
simple terms.
Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting that you talk about this, and you're using the word unrequited, right? It's that not returned piece. And when we don't have a reciprocal relationship with someone that we want, that we think should be reciprocal, or we think things could be returned because perhaps we see that potential in the other person, but they're not allowing themselves to be who they know they are, who they don't know they are. That true self isn't shining through because they're not willing to let it. And so those of us who are empaths, we feel and we know different things at whatever age we are, then there's that other level of inconsistency perhaps that we feel, and yet it's all about the learning. And I see this so often in my EMDR sessions with my clients, and myself as an EMDR client in the past. When we can hold space for these hurts from our existence, then we, for lack of a better term, but we let go and we allow, just like you talk about allowing and flowing, that true blueprint of us to shine through. And so we're not carrying these things so much anymore. It does change people around us. Some people don't want to change, so they come at us with these harsh words or actions, or they pull away from us, and we think we've lost them because they don't want to be around us because we've changed so much. And yet we're our true self, and it's that fear-based stuff that's still in our society that comes through, and patience then. Like all of it is a learning opportunity and a teaching opportunity for the self and for others. And you're right, it's that flow and that cycle of self and other. And yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. Those were important points.